let me show you how to set up and use these mini chainsaws. Also, I will show you some tips so you can work safely without cutting off your fingers. Also, if you want to adjust anything on this chainsaw or do something with the chain, obviously make sure to remove the battery first. Also, if you want to store it somewhere, again make sure to remove the battery because you can accidentally start it maybe. Your chainsaw probably will get delivered without the chain on it. So this is how you can install it. Let's take it off first. Your chain will probably come loose like this. And by the way, the chain has got two sides. So this is the cutting side. As you can see, these are the teeth on the chain here. And on this other side, you can see there's some guidings. So as you can see, there is a slot basically where these guides simply inserts inside. And then basically the chain goes round and round. So you can see. Also, if you flip it over, for example, on this saw, there is like a screw which you can basically loosen and adjust it basically. As you loosen it, you'll be able to shift this thing about like a few millimeters to this side or this side to adjust the chain tension a bit more. So if you need that, maybe if it feels very loose, you can basically unscrew the screw a bit and then move it to which side you need and again fasten it. By the way, again, as you see, you can't adjust it more, only like a couple of millimeters, but that should be enough. Okay, let's install it. First make sure you tighten the chain so it's very tight and simply place it over this like rod here. Let's get that guard over here and we are going to simply place it over like here. And then you can see there is like plastic piece which you need to basically push it inwards till it's almost like pretty much like flush. And then you need to basically take this bar, basically pull it like this, so you have some tension here. As you can see, if I pull like this, it will move here basically, but literally just takes this bar and pull it, so it's very tight. And then when we basically flip over the cover, you can see you can adjust the tension here. So basically, as you move this wheel here, you can see. So this gap here basically becomes larger here and it tensions it up. So this is what gap you need to look at. So first make sure it's maybe like half here and we are going to tension it up as we like assemble it later. So make sure first like this, then again make sure tension it, place it over. Then once it's very tight basically, we're simply going to screw this again and tighten it, and that's how I do it. Make sure it's a bit tight. So yep. By the way, the chain tensioning mechanism on these chainsaws isn't very good. I don't like them. And if your saw has like reservoir for oil here, you're going to need to fill it up a bit. So you can use either like a chainsaw oil if you have, or maybe if you don't want to purchase that, you can maybe even like literally use like engine oil as well. So it's not that important, but we're going to basically fill it like almost up. And I have this like, I can push it and basically prime it. So basically it will oil the chain here as well. But if you do not have like such thing, you can simply take some oil and rub it around the chain here basically. Like drop it and then run the saw and like make sure it's oiled up so it can work most effectively and also it won't wear out. Okay then, and let me show you finally how to properly use it safely. By the way, when you compare to the proper big chainsaws such as this one, these are way less powerful, but that is a plus if you are a beginner, because these are much more easier to control and they do not have like huge kickbacks or whatever, and they're generally more safer to use than the big chainsaws. So if you're a beginner, I really suggest these mini chainsaws as they're absolutely awesome, and also they're much safer to use. With these big chainsaws basically it has so insanely huge power that you can cut off your arm in 1 second. With this one you can't really do much damage, and again it doesn't have as much power, so it's easier to control, but still it cuts very good, and yeah, it's just safer tool overall. And before working with this tool, make sure to get glasses at least, or like a full face mask is the best really. But this one, especially with a guard, are actually very good. So, and they do not like throw chips at you much. But if you do not have guard, make sure to get a full face mask. And if you are an absolute beginner, if you are actually cutting something with this one, you really need to cut basically with this part of the chainsaw, so pretty much at the bottom here, and do not cut with especially with this end here or like this here. So if you have like a large stock, you can obviously cut like this, so you can pretty much like cut like this, but again make sure this is at the furthest end here. So otherwise, if you cut like this, basically it can basically pull your material, it can pull the saw, and it can create basically dangerous situations. Also, do not cut with this part of this blade basically here, so this quarter basically here. This is the most dangerous part because it can create severe kickback basically, and basically it can launch your saw like this in pretty much your face if you try to cut with this tip basically. So really stick with this part. And when you are cutting something, make sure you hold it securely and you have decent grip. Personally, I like to cut it like this, so I rest one arm on this handle here and other on this battery here, so I have good control over the saw and I have good grip on it. Also, before you start cutting, make sure your chain basically doesn't drop. So this is a normal, it should be like this basically, so a bit tiny bit loose, but it shouldn't be overly tight, and also it shouldn't like drop over here like so. If like it's 5 times worse than this one, do not attempt to cut it, but unscrew it, adjust it so it's properly tightened, and then simply have a go at it. Okay. Also make sure your chain is running at full speed before you cut it actually. So do not put it like this and start it then, but make sure it's first running at full speed, so it runs for like 1 second, and then cut it. And that's done. Also, when you are cutting and when you are standing like this, do not stand like this and cut like this, because when you finish cutting, your saw can actually cut in your leg basically. Make sure you are like this, so if anything happens, the blade goes like this basically, so there's no leg here. Also, one more thing. As you see, I am already almost finished cutting this, but do not attempt to put like heavy force when you are cutting basically. Do not try to push it basically, and make sure it basically flows almost itself. You might need to apply a bit of force, but do not apply huge force, because as you basically finish cutting, there will be huge force, the basically wood will be cut, and basically you might actually push the blade somewhere like this and cut yourself. So again, so as you see, it doesn't go anywhere. But if I push hard basically, and when I basically finish cutting, the blade might basically like go like this somewhere and cut something. So again, do not use huge force. And that's pretty much everything you need to know when working with this mini chainsaw. Overall, again, I think this is more comfortable to use than the big chainsaws. And again, if you are a beginner for chainsaws, I think it's way more safe as well. As again, it doesn't really have that huge power, but still it's good for cutting medium-sized logs or like pruning trees and stuff like that. So extremely good tool. But again, use common sense and make sure safe when you actually use this, because again, this can still cause a lot of damage if you improperly use it. Again, this probably can't cut off your arm in 1 second like the big boy can, but still it can damage your arms or legs still. Anyway, yeah, good luck everyone.